No, I mean, I have to say, like, I've had a lot of interviews over this period of time, a lot of podcasts. I have to say, this was the one I'm excited about because this is my
Oh,
favorite podcast ever.
oh, Chris, you're lovely. Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not that I will be talking about your other stuff because I know, like I said, I've got a podcast veteran here. I've got you. You have other things, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, it's very sweet. Thank you, mate. Make sure you say that on the show. That'd be great.
Of course I will. Hey guys, welcome to LOL. Sorry, Chris Smith, the best comedy show on Love to Be Radio. Why is that? It's because it's the only comedy show on Love to Be Radio. Guys, I have got a pleasure of a guest today. He is an actor, writer, producer, of many things. He is a podcast veteran, acting and starring in many things such as The Offensive, Jack the Ripper. But as many of you are here and listen to, and I imagine a good bunch of you are, he is also the director and editor and co-producer of the hit podcast series Sherlock Co. Mr. Adam Jarrell, lovely to have you here, sir.
What an introduction.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I had to pick you up because, like I said, I've got royalty here with me.
Oh, goodness me. You're too kind. Flattery will get you everywhere, Chris. It really will.
Well, I mean, before we start off into the Sherlock bit, because whilst that's lovely, and we'll get into that. This is about you. So, um, I mean, like I said, you performed in a bunch of like early podcasts. One of them was The Offensive, which was
Yeah.
highly regarded and like sort of put you on the map. Really, what was the experience doing that?
Oh man, it was well, I mean, we're going back to now 2000 and when was it? 2018 when we started.
Yeah.
And that was originally a TV pilot. My co-producer and my dearest friend Joel Everett, who writes Sherlock and Co. He's the genius of the show, by the way. So don't expect any highbrow answers from me
I
today.
will not have that from that. You are both geniuses.
Oh, you're very kind. But he wrote the idea for a pilot for a fictional football team, but set in the boardroom, very much like the thick of it, but set um, at a fictional Premier League football team as opposed to set at Whitehall. And a few production companies held on to the script for a little while, and there were a few sort of false promises, and nothing happened. So we got the rights back, and Joel approached me and said, "Do you think we could do an audio drama, 8 parts?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, if it's about a Premier League team, why don't we do 38 parts and follow a Premier League season and do every episode is a different fixture?" And Joel was like, "Do you think you could do that?" And I said yes, and then I regretted it every day since. No, not at all. I loved it, and we did 5 years on The Offensive. We were with a company called Stack after a few episodes. They heard the show, they produced the Football Ramble. We were very lucky to be with them, and then our listenership just sort of shot up a bit, and it was it was just a joy, absolute pleasure. But as is with Sherlock and Co, it was every week, sort of weekly fictional audio drama, which is a lot to produce and a
I
lot for
mean,
Joel to write. So we always say that we're always putting the track out in front of a moving train, and that's kind of how Joel and I work. We try not to, but we always end up doing so.
that's a challenge in itself, not just with the offensive, but also Sherlock and Co. Since you are dedicating yourself every week to make sure the content is out there. Has there ever been a close call where you're like, oh god, I mean, of anything you've done, where you're like, oh god, I might not be able to make the weekly bit?
No, there's been the odd recasting or a joke that might not land as well as it would have done. Say, for instance, if the joke was done on a Thursday, then by Sunday, and the episode would come out on a Monday, by Sunday we'd be like, oh, do people really remember that? It really is, tomorrow's chip paper as far as some jokes, especially with football, the ever-changing landscape of football.
Hmm.
So that's the closest thing. There's always 11th hour edits. Joel will be rolling his eyes right now because that's my, that's my gimmick really. Last minute edits, but I don't know. There's just sort of an energy that comes over me when you get to the end of putting together, especially with Sherlock and Co. This rich tapestry of Arthur Conan Doyle's work, and when you're finally there, I'm always just adding little bits, little extra bits. It's almost like a salad. John, I always say it's like a salad, and I just put so much stuff in there. And that's the joy, because these things live on. These things will still be online when Joel and I are long gone, and that's quite exciting in a way that there'll be people discovering it in years to come, hopefully. And the same with The Offensive as well.
Well, it's not. I mean, the offensive and Sherlock isn't the only well-known person that you have done a podcast on, because like I said at the beginning, you have been in a podcast about Jack the Ripper.
Jackie the Ripper, our show, Jackie the Ripper. It was the Jack the Ripper retelling, a modern retelling of the Jack the Ripper murders with the genders switched.
Which is a very interesting way to be of all the people. I mean, you can't deny that is a notorious figure. But then to do a modern take on that, what sort of drew you into that?
Do you know what? It was Joel's idea, and he ran with it. And I was like, I'll help however I can. And it ended up just being such a joy. So fun. We had Paul Waggett playing Freddie Abelard, the lead detective who had played Patrick Nolan in The Offensive, and he now plays our John Watson.
Yes.
And obviously, we'll get onto the cast later on, but we're so blessed with Paul, Harry, and Marta in Sherlock. And Paul has been with us since day one. And I think the strength of the show lies with him as well as Joel's writing and editing as well. I think it was just a case of comedic devices that would lend itself to a modern retelling of the Jack the Ripper murders, because it's not the most cheery of subjects.
No, well, like I said, I mean,
yeah. So with the gender switching, it was just funnier to hear. I can't say because I've been told I'm not allowed to swear, so I can't really get into the into the weeds with regards to Jackie the Ripper. But yeah, anyone listening, check it out. Make sure there's no kids in the room when you do check it out, because goodness me, that's all I can really say.
No, I get that, because I mean, well, one thing we should point out, especially in all these things, including Sherlock and Co, is that not only are you're not only just a director producer, you also voice in these as well. I mean, you are. You were Chris Wood on The Offensive. You were the police commissioner in Jackie the Ripper. But also, if anybody can't recognize your voice in Sherlock and Co, you're Stamo.
Yeah. Stamo's basically just my voice. I played Woody in The Offensive with a Scottish accent, which wasn't the best Scottish accent in the world, but because I knew that Joel and I would be lending our voices to so many other characters, I thought I'm going to have to do something that's very unique as Woody, because he was one of the three protagonists. With this, Stamo's just my voice, and then Joel and I just will be in nearly every adventure, even if it's like Passerby 1 or a major antagonist.
But is it kind of strange then to sort of, because you direct these episodes a lot? Yeah. Is it weird to sort of direct a scene you're in?
Kind of. I think with the nature of Sherlock and Co, we record remotely. So everyone records separately. The main three, so Sherlock, John, and Mariana will record remotely. Our John Watson, Paul Waggett, he's based in New Zealand, so that is a hell of a commute if he was coming over to the London studio. So it's almost, a lot of the directing is done in the edit. So I do both, and when it's a character that I'm voicing, sometimes I'll plug a gap. If there's something in the plot or the script that we're just missing out on, I'll speak to John and be like, oh yeah, well, we can have this character that either of us is voicing. We can just plug that gap there or fix that hole there. That's very rare that happens, but yeah, I don't really have any kind of bias with regards to editing myself. Once I do the voice, I'm like, fine. As long as it's decent enough, then I'll just edit as I would anyone else.
Has that happened in the past where you've been maybe more critical or more lenient when you're in the scene?
Oh, I take forever when it's me. Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm happy that I am the one directing, because anyone else would have fired me a long time ago. I just take so long. Take so long. No, honestly, it can literally be the word no, and you'll hear me just in my home studio just being like, no. And I'm like, what are you doing, Adam? Come on, you've got a big edit to do and you're struggling over one word. So honestly, it can get, I think as an actor, we're always very self-critical anyway.
Well, I used to ask this because, I mean, from people in the past where like actors, directors, they sort of, actors learn how to direct from their previous directors. Was there any certain body where you were like, oh, that's a good way to direct, I'll just take that and adapt it to my own?
That's a really good question, actually. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of different directors. I've sort of a bit of a background in musical theatre and a few commercials as well. I was lucky enough, actually, to be directed by Declan Lowney, who directed Father Ted, which is one of my favourite shows of all time.
Wow!
And he since went on and won a Golden Globe, I think, for Ted Lasso. He directed Ted Lasso. And he directed me in this commercial a few years ago. And I didn't even have the lead part in the commercial, but just the time he took to chat to us, there was no sort of like there's no sort of authoritarian that you would get in a cliche. People who don't work in the biz might think directors are just sort of, you know, dictators, and that's not the case at all. It's always a collaborative effort from cast and crew. And I was just like, oh, he's literally we're just hanging out in between takes, and obviously you'd have to go and, you know, check the takes that we just had. And he was so personable, such a lovely chap, and really funny as well. And I thought he could easily insert himself into the cast. And I've worked with a lot of directors who are like that as well. Michael Strassen, who I did a fringe production of Sondheim Musical Assassins with a long time ago now. It's making me feel very old. He was a big influence as well. I mean, I was been really lucky, Chris, to just work with just some wonderful people. And I think, without realizing, I think they have influenced me a lot with my directing style. I usually direct one-on-one with our sort of the client in Sherlock Co, or maybe the villain. And that's my favorite time, is when I'm in the studio with actors. I absolutely love it. If it was a lot easier to get everyone together in a room, then I would do that. But it's just not. The nature of the beast is that it's very hard to get people in a room. I mean, it's hard enough to get people for a Christmas party, let alone to record a weekly audio drama. Do you know what I mean? So it's.
Believe me, I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you like you said, you talked about people you've worked with in the past and the amazing people you work with now. We should get on to the reason why, well, not the big one that you'll hear, which is Sherlock and Co. It's of the big three: Paul Waggett, Harry Atwell, and Martin De Silva. A great trio of actors who voiced the spectacular Sherlock Holmes, John Watson, and Mariel Emetizura. What's led you or you both to get those three for those roles?
Joel and I have spoken about this before, where out of all the projects that we've done, we were always saying, okay, which one's going to be the Harry Atwell project? Which one's going to be the Harry Atwell project? Because he is a dear friend of mine. I used to work as a theatre usher, which was at front of house at the Dominion Theatre when We Will Rock. He was on at the top of Oxford Street on Tottenham Court Road. Harry and I used to work there together, and he was a jobbing actor. He's done some wonderful projects as Harry. He's done West End, he's done Broadway, he's done tours, he's done films, he's done TV, he's done it all. And he was always keen to work with us. And we were like, we don't want to miss our chance with Harry. We don't want to give him something that's not necessarily perfect. And then when the idea came from Tony Pastor at Goalhanger that he wanted a Sherlock Holmes modern adaptation, we thought to ourselves, this is the Harry Atwell project, because he's just so... He is Sherlock. And it's funny because he gets now and again there'll be comments of people saying he sounds so similar to Benedict Cumberbatch from, you know, Benedict's version of Sherlock on the BBC Sherlock. And Harry's never seen a minute of BBC Sherlock. He hasn't seen it. And so it's
really?
Yeah. So there's no, you know, he's not ripping him off at all. That's just how Harry.
That's just how he voiced Sherlock.
That's how Harry voices Sherlock. Yeah, and I think
that's amazing.
I just think it's perfect. I mean, he will just. I'll go for a drink with him, or, you know, we'll go for dinner or something, and I'll just be chatting with him. And I'm like, goodness me, I'm having dinner with Sherlock Holmes. And it's the same. It's the same with Paul and Marta as well. I mean, Paul. I think to me, Paul will always be Patrick Nolan, because that's how I first got to know Paul. He'll hate me for saying that, because Patrick Nolan is just an awful human being. But
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And then Marta, we needed a Mrs. Hudson, basically. We needed Mrs. Hudson, but we didn't. You know, this is set in 2020, 2025. Well, we started in 2023. The idea of a female character as a housekeeper, we were like, absolutely not. You know, we're not writing this we're not setting this in Victorian London.
Bit of a weird bit in the for that
so
story.
we had her, spoilers for episode 1. She is the estate agent that rents out 221B and 221A, and the estate agent is called Hudson's. And that sort of allows Sherlock, who's not doing as well socially as he is now in the current Sherlock & Co. He just for a long time thinks that Mariana is called Mrs. Hudson. So we kept that link to the original text via a Mrs. Hudson. I'm doing quotation marks with my fingers for.
Let's just assume that right now, anyone listening to this, apart from the last episode, which is the new story, there's going to be spoilers at least as much as coming up. If you're listening to this and not listening to a bit of Sherlock Co, what are you doing here? Just go back and listen to the whole thing.
Yeah,
because it's amazing.
And also, you can't have a go as giving spoilers for stories that sometimes are 140 years old. It's I'm kind of.
I was actually legitimately about to ask you that because. It's not just the fact that you are redoing the stories. You are redoing them to a modern context. Is there a worry of spoilers? Because, yes, the stories are over 100 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. I think spoilers, I feel like I sort of see online, and I hear in other podcasts as well when people talk about the show, that they wish they didn't know the stories when they listen to our show. And I think there is an audience that don't know the stories or are not as familiar as real Sherlockians, absolute sort of diehard Sherlock fans. And we want to try and please everyone. We want new people who are discovering Sherlock Holmes for the first time to come in as well and enjoy it. But I think with regards to spoilers, I'm not sure. I think that there are certain twists that Joel will put in a script, or he'll change certain aspects of a story. We'll always get from A to Z, that sometimes Joel will take us around the houses a bit if he has to, or he will just alter certain plot lines. I think the spoilers come within that, so that's a little bit of an Inception answer there. But the spoilers within the changes that Joel makes to the scripts, I think, are the things that people will be like, don't ruin it for me. But
which is strange, because it's like the stories are 150 years old. You could just find them out.
Of course. But if there are those modern changes, then I do understand why people don't want spoilers. And also, it's not fun for things to be spoiled. It's never...
No, of course not. Yeah. So talking about doing a modern day Sherlock Holmes, even as you just said, it's not original in the sense that Sherlock Holmes has been, in the nicest word, done to death. Because those characters, that stories are just timeless.
Yeah, it's the most adapted piece of IP in history.
Yeah, of course, but for good reason. Yeah. Was there any sort of way when you were starting, at the very start of it, to sort of be like, how do we avoid sounding like Sherlock or like the original or like any other thing? Or was there a bit of like, no, people are going to listen to this, they're going to associate it with this other adaptations, even like the Robert Downey Jr. There's tons. Was it difficult to come up with your own one?
I think the USP for Sherlock & Co. is that we want to be the first modern adaptation to do every single Sherlock Holmes story. And so far we are on 37, I think, out of the 58 and 4 novels. I might be wrong on that. I'm really sorry if I am.
No. I think you are right.
Yeah, I think, but we are on 30. We've done 37 of the stories now. That's including 2 novels. We've done Sign of Four, we've done Hound of the Baskervilles. We also wanted to bring it into a modern era of John Watson being a true crime podcaster, as opposed to the original text where he is writing for the Strand magazine. We needed that realism. That helps in the edit as well. With regards to sort of the earlier episodes, John's a terrible editor, and it's all clunky. He's dropping his mic, but the microphone is almost a character in itself as well.
Yeah, Mike the mic.
Yeah, Mike the mic, which is the second mic. And then but on the flip side of that, there are some people who will be like, that would never be recorded. You'd never be allowed to put that out. So, as with any fiction, you have to suspend your disbelief.
Oh, wait, do you actually get like podcast fans go like the quality is too good?
So sometimes I'll be like, or they wouldn't be allowed to put that out, and we do address that within the shows, right? Sort of meta moments, which sometimes I'm a bit like, goodness me, this is way over my head. But yeah, it's always fun to edit as John would edit, if you know what I mean. But then as the show's progressed, we've just finished our 10-part Hound of the Baskervilles adaptation, which we're very proud of, and we made sure that we underscored that quite a lot as well. So it's a very different episode. If you listen to the pilot episode and then you skipped on 2 years and listened to Hound of the Baskervilles, it sounds like a different show. But there's reason for that. John's learning. At the start of our version, he wanted to make a true crime he wanted to, not even a true crime podcast. He wanted to make a podcast about veterans who had served.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being introduced to Sherlock, and to quote another Goalhanger show, the rest is history. So
yes,
yeah,
yes, God, yes, yeah. Well, I imagine must be a little bit nice to sort of have Goalhangers sort of influence and expertise in it, because not only that you have managed to get a few guest stars on the podcast as well from that.
yeah, that's always really fun. I will say, actually, he's become a really good friend of mine and Joel's, Dominic Sambrook, who co-hosts The Rest is History. Recently won Apple Podcast of the Year, which is absolutely huge. So congratulations to Dominic and Tom. They've both been on the show. Dominic was a big fan of the show before we got him involved. He played the antagonist in The Norwood Builder, a character called Hector MacFarlane, who stages a siege at Madame Tussauds.
Yes.
And usually when we do cameos from people with Goalhanger, which is always really fun, by the way, but with Dominic, this was a big role. He had about the same amount of dialogue as Sherlock in this adventure.
Yeah.
And Joel and I were recording at Spotify Studios in London, and we were just stood outside waiting for Dominic, and we just thought, oh my God, what if he's not very good? And obviously we know he's a wonderful, wonderful historian and, one of the best podcast hosts in the world. But we were like, it's a lot to ask of him as an actor.
Yeah.
And he came in and he absolutely nailed it. He was wonderful. So that was, he has really set the bar for the Goalhanger cameos. We've had Al Murray, we've had Tom Holland from The Rest History. Gary Lineker's been in it a few times. Richard Osman,
yes.
Alan Shearer, Marina Hyde. We had Willie and Anita from Empire, Rory Stewart, Alistair Campbell. So yeah, we've had a lot of cameos, which is.
There any particular ones on the bucket list of who you'd like to be on it?
Anthony Scaramucci. The Rest is Politics US, who was Trump's head of staff for 11 days, I think, in the White House. So yeah, I would love to get. I'd love to get the Mooch on there. I've spoken to him a few times, and he is up for it. We're just waiting for the right adventure. So,
fantastic! I love that.
Anytime soon. Yeah.
Well, because I am an absolute fan of this podcast and everything about this, especially by the fact that you have done which no one has done before, which is adapting every single story out there. Including all the novels and things. But it's just like, for someone who has, let's assume that's both of us that you and I have both of these read them, enough of them.
Yeah.
Has there any stories you've done previously where you were like, oh, that was a challenge to do?
Oh, great question, mate. They're always a challenge. I don't want to sound like, when people talk about their jobs and like, oh, it's so hard, it's so difficult. Of course it's hard. Anything worth doing is hard. And I love my job. I absolutely love what we do with Sherlock & Co. I think the difficulty will sometimes just come from trying to do justice to a story. Hound of the Baskervilles. It wasn't difficult, but we knew the pressure was on. We knew that some people might judge the entire show on Hound of the Baskervilles, with it being such a famous story. I think I can
understand.
Yeah,
it's the most regarded Sherlock Holmes story.
Absolutely, one of my earliest memories of Sherlock Holmes is the 1959 Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee film Hound of the Baskervilles, which is an absolute classic. And I just think, like you say, that's the kind of it's the poster boy of Sherlock Holmes stories, especially to people who, I think if people aren't familiar with Sherlock Holmes, I think they are with Hound of the Baskervilles. So I think the pressure comes from that. We don't feel that from Goalhanger. I'll make that very clear. Goalhanger, absolutely wonderful. But I think we put that on ourselves, Joel and I, by making sure that we do Arthur Conan Doyle's work justice. We do the characters justice, and we make sure that our listeners are happy with what we've done. And I'm aware that I'm talking about Hound of the Baskervilles a lot, but it's because it's
it did just come out, so it's like it was your last big project, and also it is the pinnacle one.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say that as far as like in the weeds with editing and that, anything with a chase, as soon as I read in a script Sherlock and John run, I go, oh, Joel, because it's just, there's a lot going on. If next time you run, anybody listening, next time you go for a run, sounds are constantly changing because you're running past, whether it's a byproduct of a sound, a workman, with a drill, a car going by, a bird flying by, that all has to come and go like in a flash. So that's quite tough when they're at 221B with a nice cup of tea, laying out the scene. I'm in my element. Lovely. I can just go right. Room noise of 221B. Here we go. I record myself putting some mugs down on coasters, to correlate with when the characters do so in the script. and that's lovely. But yeah, as far as the edit goes, anything with a car chase, vehicles are always, they just take time. That's all it is. It's just time. It's not. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's difficult or a slog. It's just time.
Oh no, I take it out, but like I guess because I never really thought about it, just because like you are very accomplished. Like when you're editing as John Watson, who, like, as you pointed out at the very start, or this for most of it, is not supposed to be, is not very good at it. It's not supposed to be very good. Did you have to intentionally make a bad bit doing podcasts because you're like, oh, this is how a novice would have done it?
Yeah, of course. Like if you're not a novice, you would fade out like you would in a, you do a hard cut like you would see in films and TV. With John, sometimes you just leave the mic on and then go, oh God, forgot that was here, and then you just hear like, the kind of crackle, the crackle of a mic or something that would. Sorry if that was really loud, but
no.
You get things like that which are just so fun. And he'd drop the mic, he'd leave the mic places. So it was always a good comedic device, because the show is a comedy as well. Obviously it's a drama, but Joel is such an incredible writer and such a phenomenal comedic writer as well that the jokes lend itself to some of the stories as well, and also the fact that John is a novice podcaster trying to sound professional, but he's also met this most, as he says in the intro, the most brilliant and bizarre person he has ever and will ever know.
Yeah. I imagine how many times you've had to quote that line about a dozen times to yourself.
And I got it wrong. Did you notice? I slipped.
I was not going to make that out there.
I've heard it thousands of times. Yeah. I've heard it more times than I've had hot dinners. But there we go. I messed up.
No, it's perfectly fine. So I know you don't. I won't ask for any specific details, just because, like, in terms of any future episodes, because I'm not going to do that. But is there any particular story that you're about to do where you're looking for the writing of it, or look at this particular story, you're thinking, "Ooh, how are we going to adapt that one?"
Right. Yeah. It's not coming anytime soon, but most adaptations start with a study in Scarlet.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. And we had a mention of Study in Scarlet in Mr. Sherlock Holmes, our pilot. And Sherlock sort of solved it off screen, came in, just said it was the taxi driver. And what? So we want to do all the cases, so we will be doing a Study in Scarlet. We've just got to reshape that. It might be set in the USA. I'm not sure. I hate to say it's Joel's department, but it's Joel's department. But he
no, you're big part.
We've got a lot planned for this year. 2026 is going to be massive for Sherlock Co. Some introductions. I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. I'll leave it at that then.
Yeah.
Well, how many people then assume then that you are all diehard Sherlock Holmes fans?
I don't know, really. I don't really hear much saying either way.
Well, I guess is there a weird something that people think, oh, you work on a Sherlock Holmes podcast, you must know every single line and story of all the stories.
I mean, I guess a lot of people might think that, but I think each skill set that Joel, myself, and the cast have lend itself to making this the production it is.
That's good.
I would much rather hone my craft as an editor and a director than reread stories. It's because we are always on. In the industry, it's called Always On. We're a weekly show.
Yeah,
I will read them as they come to me. So Joel will say to me, "Right, we're doing The Man with the Twisted Lip. Okay, I'll have a read of the story. Then I'll read Joel's script, and I have to stay with Joel's script. I can't be biased by Arthur Conan Doyle's work, because that's Joel's job. You don't want too many cooks spoiling the broth. Me going, oh, I think you should have done this. I think you should have done that. Occasionally, I'll offer, a little bit of constructive.
I was going to ask, when was the last time you had ever done that?
Lady Frances Carfax, I think. Joel would be the first to admit that as well. There was an issue with the ending, and I think I was a little bit unclear, because I think the edit script that I received had a couple of different drafts within it, and I was like, hang on, this has happened. Surely that's happened. And he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's even better than what I was, wanting to do. So I was like, oh, there we go. Pat myself on the back, because Joel's the genius, mate. I can't stress that enough. But that was the last time that happened. With regards to me sort of it's a real collaborative effort, but I think Joel always says, it's Arthur Conan Doyle who it's his work. We're just adapting it for a modern audience.
Well, I mean, is there a temptation to sort of, in a nice way, branch out, because there are other Sherlock Holmes stories that Arthur Conan Doyle did not write, or is there ever the temptation to be like, oh, there's because there's a story like certain books, also like games, or certain movies where you're like, oh, I wish we could do that one.
I will say that temptation will come. At the moment, we're just trying to get all the original canon done.
No, fair enough. I'd rather you get the canon done.
It's a big old task, as you can imagine. So at no point do we want to muddy the waters with, what else could we do with Sherlock? But obviously we do. Joel and I will chat about this, and we'll have discussions over dinner, or a glass of wine now and again, where we'll just say, right, what's happening once we've done them all, and we're keeping that close to our chest.
Fair enough. I mean, there's one I could literally think off the top of my head, like one that would be interesting to do. It's one Sherlock Holmes game I know called The Awakened, and that's like, if anyone doesn't know, it basically involves Sherlock Holmes going after the Lovecraftian stuff, the cult of Cthulhu. There's just like stuff goes involved there, where it's like he's trying to investigate a murder, and then suddenly Cthulhu gets involved. It's just like, oh, that goes insane. Not even like the mystical stuff happens, but it's like, oh, it's more going into the mind, that sort of thing. So it'd be really interesting to see how you go delve into insanity, that sort of things.
Hey, anything, there's some buzzwords there: insanity, Cthulhu, mythical, anything like that. My sound design ears prick up, and I just go, yes. So I would love to do things like that, but I'm not sure. We also have to be careful about treading on other people's toes as well, because
I get that entirely.
Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain. That's why we've been able to do this. We would never want to, take anyone else's vision of Sherlock.
No.
And also, I think Joel has created such a rich world now that Sherlock Co is based in, that there's just opportunities to be had within our own canon, if you will, within our own universe. So, yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because, I mean, one thing that is surely there is that your fan base is not only there, but loyal to a T. Even the fact that this year you won the People's Choice for the Webby Awards, that shows how much people love your show.
Yeah.
I mean, congrats to you on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Yeah, our fan base, our listeners, they are just wonderful. It's hard to not get too emotional talking about them, because we're just so thankful for them to just sort of take a chance on, what could have easily been yet another Sherlock Holmes adaptation. But we had Tony Pastor, exec producer at Goalhanger. We had his sort of, this is how I want it. This is what I think we should do. And then we all just got together. It took a long time to get it together, to get it perfect. And then once we released, we were just amazed by how many people have really, really taken our John and Sherlock and Marianne into their hearts, and it's wonderful. I'll never ever be able to thank our listeners enough, and our Patreon members who are our biggest fans. Really, they are just wonderful. We have 2 meetups a year, and it's genuinely the highlight. One of the highlights of my year is seeing everyone, and there's friendships that have been made through the show. I think we may have even had a proposal. I think we may have a marriage coming up of two listeners of show.
Yes, I think I remember
met
yes,
through the show, through their love of the show, and that's way beyond me. I can't fathom that. It's just amazing. Editing can be sometimes so solitary, and you just sat there, headphones on, the outside world, you just don't hear from it for hours and hours, days and days and days. And you put an episode out, and you take your headphones off, and you're like, whoa, okay, that's another one done. And then a script comes through. Joel and I have a long chat, and then you start all over again. So sometimes you don't get a chance to sort of stop and smell the roses, really. But when you hear stories about that, it's just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. We've been very fortunate enough with that as well. We had a lot of people with The Offensive, obviously went on over the pandemic. We had people who've said they've been able to sort of get back in touch, reconnect with family members that they weren't necessarily close with, and they had a father and son who were we don't agree on anything, but we both have a love of The Offensive, and that's what they talk about on their weekly trips to the pub. And I just thought, it's lovely. We once had someone read out something at a wedding. We've had someone read out something at a eulogy at a funeral from The Offensive, and I was just like, wow, it's just it transcends it transcends what you do on a day-to-day basis. But also, you know, we're all passionate about things, you know, and I can understand that. And it's lovely. It's really humbling. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to be part of people's weekly routines. I mean, you know, half an hour a week, and they'll listen to Sherlock, John, and Mariana, and it's lovely.
No, but that passion transcends everything. Not only to just the community you have in the Patreon and everything, but also the fact that the fan art that you guys get, you put on Friday every single week. I just want the first time you saw the fan art, because I always think like a lot of times fans will try and imitate the actual actors and try and make them look like that.
Yeah.
Not always, but sometimes they do. Was there an instance when you first saw them, you thought, oh, that's how the fans see the three?
No, genuinely, I think I have to kind of take my sort of romantic hat off with regards to how I see the characters, because I know Harry, Paul, and Marta very well. To me, they're Harry, Paul, and Marta. When I'm editing them, I'm looking at it from a very logistic, boring, unromantic way. When we started getting fan art in, I'd never experienced that before, and I just thought, this is absolutely mind-blowing. The talent of these artists who are sending in their fan art. Joel and I never want to put a definitive description of the characters on, because we love that people will imagine them the way that they do, and I think that's one of the beauties of audio drama as well. The minute you put video or, you know, images to that, then someone will be like, oh, that's not how I see Sherlock at all, and it might leave a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth.
Well, it's a bit strange, just because I think when people draw Paul Watson, I think they draw Paul, but I think
They kind of like Paul. He's short.
Well,
Paul,
sort of.
The usual Watson is blonde, and Paul's got brunette hair. But I think Joel has mentioned in the script before that Watson's blonde. I think, and he has a bit of stubble.
Maybe.
Yeah. But we get all sorts of shapes and sizes for all the characters, and it's lovely. Some people's interpretation of the characters are just, you know, they're amazing.
Oh no, yeah, they're fantastic. No, I'll just remark because I think that, I mean, Harry, who I've seen like looks very different than what people have drawn Sherlock as, but that's like you said, it's entirely different. Which I absolutely love and fantastic. But one thing you also did to celebrate Sherlock and Co, you did a full animatic of the first episode with all the fans.
That was arranged and done by our listeners, by the fans and the artistic fans. I didn't know much about it until it was done, and I saw it and was just blown away.
Was it weird watching it and going, oh God, this is what it sounded like back then?
No. Do you know what? We have that with The Offensive. I always say with The Offensive, the first 20 episodes, I'm like, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. we genuinely didn't know what we were doing then. You know, whereas with Sherlock, I can happily go, well, if it sounds a bit rubbish, that's because it's supposed to, because, you know, John is...
You have that excuse.
Yeah. I'm very proud. I'm proud of all of our episodes of Sherlock and Co. Absolutely.
As you should be. Yeah,
thank you.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what then would you say is one lesson you took from The Offensive in you now know in making Sherlock and Co?
Good question. And I think for me and Joel, who, you know, we cast the show as well, cast actors you know and trust, and we'll get things to you on time, because sometimes it is tight. We will message and be like, we need a pickup of a line, you know, we need an addition just to help explain this certain, you know, plot point. We need it in 2 days. And so, you know, that's not, to someone you've just met or you just, you know, just emailed, that's not fair. So we make sure that we have actors that we know, we trust, and that we love as well. So that's a big thing from The Offensive. We were like, we just need to make sure that we have people who, you know, are as passionate about the project as we are, and will go above and beyond. Really, it sounds a bit cliche, that, but it's true.
No, not really. I mean, especially with things like The Offensive and Sherlock, to me, the fan bases offhand of both of them with football and Sherlock are massive, and to sort of dive into those things, not essentially blind, but like the authority of I know what I'm going to do with this is daunting. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, was in the early days of The Offensive, was there a fear of like I'm messing around with football that a lot of people might be like, oh, that's very protective?
No, to be honest, quite the opposite. Joel and I went in with absolute, guerrilla podcasting here. We were like, we want to ruffle feathers. We want to annoy everyone. We want to, because football is owned by billionaires. Why would we not want to annoy billionaires? So we were like, I'll watch my language here, but we could take the mick out of all clubs equally. There's a one of my favorite TV shows of all time is South Park, and there's a warning at the start that says this should not be viewed by anyone. And I've always loved that, because I'm like, no, that's genuine. Like, they mean that. If you get offended by it, you can't have a go at them, because they did say, if you're offended by anything, don't watch this. And we had a similar warning at the top of the offensive. And I think sometimes we get, because we had a Twitter account of Ashford City, and we ran it like a real football club. And sometimes we would get fans of, like, say, for instance, Bournemouth, who'd be like, sorry, who are we playing? What? We're not playing them. And then all of a sudden, they'd be in, and they'd be like, who's this Ashwood fan? They're like, I don't even know who your team are, mate. And then we'd be there like, yes, it's worked. People are getting wound up. Football fans are so easy to wind up. I'm a football fan myself. So, it's... I
imagine there must have been such a pride. It's like, yes, I got a fake character that meant to annoy real fans.
Yeah. We had one of our goal celebration gifs that went semi-viral, and that was really, really fun. And a lot of people were like, which league is this? And we were like, Premier League, thank you very much. They're like, I don't think so. And then we just send them a link to the show, and they'd be like, oh my God, this is great. So it was really fun, because we were just, it was a comedy. It was no holds barred. We could say what we want. We could do what we wanted. And it was, oh God, we had a lot of fun on that show.
Well, you did add football into Sherlock, because you continuously rise up and then make fun of Swindon.
Absolutely, yeah. And Joel, who writes the show, and it's very much, there's a lot of John Watson in Joel as well. He won't mind me saying that. Yeah. He's based not too far from Swindon, and I'm pretty sure that in the original canon there's mentions of Watson's Watson's heritage and where he's from and everything. So yeah, Swindon Town. It'd be boring if you supported a Premier League team. Do you know what I mean? We want it to be proper, real football, So you support.
Oh no, yeah, I respect it. That's just like, have you had Swindon Town fans come after you?
Oh yeah, a few times. The funny thing is, we've had a lot of listeners buy official Swindon Town merch as well. So they must be like, what on earth is going on here? So,
why is our merchandise going to go up?
Yeah, because John has a Swindon Town mug that's so precious to him. He's always the kettle's always on at 221B. And I think that I've seen a few listeners, a few fans of the show who've sent, picked photos of them, like all around the world. As someone sent a photo from Thailand, I think, with a Swindon Town mug. Never been to Swindon, probably, might not have even heard of Swindon. And there we are, Swindon Town mugs going through the roof. They're this year's Buzz Lightyear for Christmas.
God, you should get a commission from Swindon, or at least get a thank you card.
We should, absolutely, yeah, or a ticket to go and see a game. That'd do.
Yeah. just get a response from Sherlock going, I'm sorry, we're not attending this.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Get our logo on the shirts. That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes or so left, but let's go into the rapid fire questions. These aren't tough questions, but these are ones where, like, I imagine the fans and everyone else is going to want to know a kind of definitive answer. I'm not expecting massive things or very quick answers, just to get into the side of things. But let's just get into it and see how it goes. So,
okay.
This will purely be focused on Sherlock Co. But but we can branch out if we want to for fun.
Anything. I love a quiz. Anything.
It'll be the toughest one. So let's go. Easiest episode to work on.
Goodness me. None of them are easy. Sorry, you said quick fire, and this isn't quick.
No. This doesn't have to be quick. We've got 10 minutes. But I was like, was there ever one story that was just like, a breeze?
No, there wasn't.
Really?
No, there wasn't. I'll just say retired colour man, because I did a lot of prep before, because I did the sound design for the entire house. Even though it was a lot of work, the majority of it was set in one house. So I basically designed it like a doll's house. So I could easily be like, okay, we're upstairs, we're in the second bedroom, we're in the bathroom, we're in the living room. So yeah, I'll throw that out there, but that's definitely not the right answer. But yeah.
Well then, let's see if this one's an easy one to ask. Hardest episode to write on.
To write? Well, I don't write.
To work on.
To work on. Sorry.
Okay. To work on. Sorry, my bad.
I'll go for Dancing Men, because there was a big police shootout at the end involving a helicopter. There was original songs that were in there, and there were so many different locations. I had to have John and Sherlock in the middle of a crowd at the O2, at Packed O2, for our fictional sort of Taylor Swift kind of character. So I had to sort of replicate a concert as well, and also condense that down so people could hear it in their headphones without their head blowing off.
That's also the one where you show your particular talent.
A little bit, yeah, but
I mean, did Joel know that and just make you sing?
If there's ever an opportunity to get me to sing, I will put my hand straight up, Chris. It's absolutely fine. I have no qualms about that.
Absolutely love that. Fantastic. Then, well, then another one to do. Favorite podcast other than yours?
The rest is Politics US, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like listening to Anthony and Catty K. I still re-listen to the old XFM shows of Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant, and Carl Pilkington from
oh my god, yes,
from 25 years ago. I still re-listen to them on a loop. This is hours and hours and hours. So that's my comfort blanket. But yeah, Rest is Politics US, Rest is History.
You can go outside, Gohan. I'm pretty sure
I know. Sorry, I sound like a right teacher's pet, don't I? I'm a big pro wrestling fan. I'm a big pro wrestling nerd. So I used to listen to a lot of pro wrestling shows. The Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana was a big favorite of mine. Yeah, and you sort of follow the NBA a little bit as well. So Bill Simmons NBA shows are always quite good fun as well.
I mean, do you sort of delve into the fiction podcast world like you do?
It's a bit of a busman's holiday, I will listen, but sometimes if I start to listen to a series, I have to put it down because I have to work on my own, and then I'd fail to sort of pick it back up. It's sort of on my list to do over Christmas, to be honest. Not that I've got that much of a break because I've left a load of editing to do. Of course I have, but that should be a New Year's resolution. Actually, I need to actually see through a series or two.
I hope you give yourself a little bit of a break. I'm sure the fans won't mind if you give yourself a Christmas break.
Yeah, I mean the content won't. We've been on for 2 years now. We don't intend taking a day off, but a week off, excuse me. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've done 2 Christmases in a row right now, haven't you?
This will be our 3rd Christmas. So we had the first Christmas adventure was the Blue Carbuncle, which is the Christmas adventure in the original canon. Then we did the Three Gables last year. And then we've just done the Man with the Twisted Lip, which is the current adventure that's out, and that's Christmas themed.
Yes, which I think, guys, as one of your fans out there, when having a 10 weeks of The Hound of the Baskervilles, which was essentially a horror show, just be like, thank you for giving us something nice for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, you say that it's an emotional one, and we've got the wonderful Kimberly Nixon playing a role in that as well, and she is absolutely phenomenal. But we did have the Second Stain before that, which was a real palate cleanser. That was really good fun. That was good fun to work on, especially like you say, after what was essentially a 10-part horror story. Yeah.
I mean, not that you go into much writing already in that way, but like, are you surprised, or like, is it weird, like certain Sherlock Holmes stories, how many parts you do of them? Because some are 3, some are 2, some are 5, some are 10.
Yeah, I mean, there are stories that aren't very long at all. In the original story, sometimes they're very, very short. And Joel will sometimes be like, "I'm going to make it a bit longer," or he'll take a long one and be like, "I'm going to make it a bit shorter." But I think I don't think I'm necessarily ever surprised. Sometimes it will be a logistical thing. That's a little peek behind the curtain. Sometimes it'll be like, we need to get this what should be a 3-part into 4-part. We need to get this what should be a 3-part into a 2-part for timing, etc. So sometimes it is something that's like I've said before, is a bit unromantic. But
I mean, have you on the cast done that where you just added it to make it longer?
Added bits like in terms of plot. I think they'll just be. I think a good example is The Second Stain. That's such a short story. I think from memory it's something like 15 to 18 pages. I think.
I mean, for anyone out there, they're not. They are short stories. They're less than 20 pages long or something ridiculous.
Yeah. A lot of them are. Yeah. With The Second Stain, not much happens in the original story. It's more of it's almost like the Cold War of Sherlock stories. It's all about paranoia, really, and something goes missing. Who took it? Who did that? And Joel just added a scene at the end just to bring it all together, and then added elements of Christmas is around the corner sort of thing to keep it within, the people who listen to it weekly. It's nice for them to feel like they're part, Sherlock and John and Mariana are in the real world and are about to celebrate Christmas, etc. And, the Three Gables that we did last year, The Man with the Twisted Lip this year, they're not Christmas stories, but Joel set them at Christmas. So.
No, I appreciate it. I love that. Well, then let's
I'll be quicker, Chris.
Sorry, no. We got like 3 more, so we'll dive into this. So, Favorite line or monologue you remember?
Favorite line: anytime Harry as Sherlock says, "Good God."
Oh yeah, I
Fantastic.
love it.
Yeah, good
Just
God.
good
Yeah,
God.
yeah. That's always a pleasure.
No, I love that. And I know this one will probably be the hardest one to do, but actually no, I'll split this up. So just favorite Sherlock Holmes, yeah, person to play him.
Harry Atwell.
Fair enough. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's drive a little bit. Is have you got a favorite other than the one that you're in?
Oh, you're cruel. Jeremy Brett is the quintessential Sherlock
Yeah.
Holmes. Basil Rathbone. I think
No,
when
no,
I think I've got to go for Jeremy Brett just because of how popular Granada Holmes is with our fan base as well, and also when you see clips and episodes of that, it's just like, well, he really.
no, I fully
Sherlock
respect that because I
Holmes.
think
Yeah.
they're the ones that at least got close to what what you're doing now, which is trying to do them all. And yeah, I mean, you can't beat Jeremy. He was just a quintessential Sherlock.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess the hardest one to do. Favorite Sherlock and Co story.
Favorite Sherlock Co story thus far that we've done is Shoscombe Old Place. It changed. It was the Dancing Men. It was. I like the Red-Headed League for a long time as well. I like the silliness. I like anything where there's elements of silliness. But Shoscombe Old Place I thought was lovely. It was. We had just started sort of taking them further out of London, and they go on a camping trip, and there's a little bit of
oh God,
yeah. There's all the things with John's ex as well. We also get a shout out during Shoscombe Old Place from a specific character as well, who gives a shout out to the show, a certain professor, but I won't.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
And I love doing the car chase. I complained about doing car chases earlier in this interview, mate, and now I'm saying how much I loved it. But I loved it. We had a wonderful cast.
Now, to be fair, you complained about running. They're exciting.
Yeah, and it was nice. It was nice to set a story out in the countryside in the summer, with Hound and with a few other ones that we've done, like the Lion's Mane up in Scotland. It just made a little bit of a change for it to sound a little. It sounded warm. The adventure sounded warm, and
no, I love that. Well, I mean, like even the last one, I think where Stammer plays a big role. I mean, the Mazarin Stone is just. Is fun. Is ridiculous.
Very silly. Very silly. Yeah, I loved the Mazarin Stone. I thought it was really good fun, and I liked Stamo and Nadia's wedding as well. It was nice to sort of, that was an example of something that Joel added on, to the story, because
I love that you guys made his stag to a paintball tournament.
Yeah. Well, we wanted it to sound, like John was back, back on the front line, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Ow!" So yeah, that was good fun. Always fun to do those sort of set pieces. From a sound design aspect, great fun.
No, I love that because that just has some of my favorite dialogue in it, where it's just like, "I'm not going 5-1, 6, bang."
yeah, Sherlock's getting involved. It's really fun, isn't it?
And just, I mean, the last one, favorite Sherlock Holmes story of the canon.
Oof, goodness me. I like the Speckled Band. I like the 3 Garridebs. It's really cliche to say Hound of the Baskervilles. So I'm not going to say. I'm going to say
it's not cliche to like the most well-known story.
Yeah, I know, but I like to go against the grain a little bit. But I'll say the 3 Garridebs for now. But it does change.
I mean, I'll dive in and give my own. I mean, like Greek Interpreter is one of my favorites, just because it involves a second brother.
Absolutely.
And the Glorious Scott is also a good one, just because it is sort of a young Sherlock.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Joel did a phenomenal job with that for our Sherlock & Co adaptation.
Yeah, because
a very popular one.
No, I love that, because I think that's also one of the first episodes you did, where it's like you sort of gave Watson better editing stuff because you gave him background music.
Absolutely, yeah. That was Joel. He edited that adventure, so it was probably him just getting excited. But yeah,
I appreciate that, because even then afterwards, you're like, "I'm not going to do that again. That was too much work."
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good fun.
Well, I mean, Adam, you've answered my last question. That was fantastic. So, we're at the end of the show. Please promote what is coming up in your life, apart from Sherlock & Co. But what else you've got going on?
Christmas. It's Christmas.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, no. Do you know what? Sherlock & Co. is everything. It's full time. It's as far as my work life. We have a live show at the South Bank Centre in September 2026, which is already sold out.
Yes, I need to try and get tickets to that.
Yeah. So we're doing that. It's sold out, so I can't push any tickets, but I'd say keep an eye on in case they release any more seats or in case there's any returns or anything. I'm not sure. I don't know much about
I've got a year. I can work it out.
Go exactly. And we just have some exciting adventures coming up in 2026. More of the same. We have some more Patreon events coming up as well. Go on.
Well, no, we should point out that, I mean, the Man with the Twisted Lip is coming. The rest of those parts are coming out on Tuesdays.
I believe, 23rd for part 2, 30th of December for part 3.
Yes.
And then 6th of January, a new adventure.
Yes, which I will not go into because that's spoilers, and I will let you excite us about that. But also, you got the Patreon there, I mean, all the stuff on there. We didn't even get to the part where you're actually just doing the audiobooks versions, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah,
but aside from that, Adam, thank you so much for being a part of this. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been great fun.
No, I mean, like I said, guys, anybody who actually wants to listen to this show, it is, without a doubt, in my mind, the best adaptation of Sherlock comes out there. If this was TV, I would watch it every time. I listen to it all the time.
Very kind, mate. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, it's strange to think that this is the last before Christmas. Let's say that right now. Merry Christmas, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next time with brand new guests, brand new everyone else. But until then, guys, bye.